Imagine a routine drive turning deadly, all because a truck driver couldn't read English road signs. A horrific scenario that just became a national flashpoint, triggering a monumental policy shift.
Absolutely. On August 22nd, 2025, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced an immediate sweeping pause on worker visas for commercial truck drivers.
And this wasn't some abstract policy debate, right? This was a direct response.
A direct and forceful response, yeah. It followed a devastating crash in Florida just the day before, August 21st. 3 Americans tragically lost their lives.
The driver involved, an immigrant, reportedly failed critical safety tests. Is that right?
That's what the initial reports and federal investigation indicate. Failed safety tests, operating illegally. It's a complex situation.
So, in this deep dive, we're going to unpack how this single incident ignited a huge national conversation about road safety, American jobs, immigration integrity.
And what the government is doing, like right now, to try and secure highways and, from their perspective, protect the workforce.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Start at the beginning. The immediate trigger for this huge policy change wasn't just an idea. It was a real-world event.
A devastating one. August 21st, 2025. A tractor-trailer driven by Harjinder Singh, an immigrant from India, allegedly caused a deadly crash right there on the Florida Turnpike.
What's really troubling here, when you look into it, is how preventable this seems to have been.
It really does. Singh reportedly tried an illegal U-turn with his, massive rig. I mean, that's incredibly dangerous anywhere, let alone a turnpike.
And that led to the collision.
Yeah, a catastrophic collision. Killed 3 Americans in a minivan instantly.
And federal investigators, they move fast.
They did. And they confirmed Singh failed basic English proficiency and road sign tests. Really failed them.
How badly?
The assessment showed he identified only 1 out of 4 highway signs correctly.
Wow. Only 1.
And could only answer 2. Just 2 of 12 verbal questions properly.
So this glaring lack of understanding, that's central to the calls for, well, enforcing existing rules.
Exactly. Rules like 49 CFR 391.11b2. It explicitly says commercial drivers have to read and speak English well enough to understand signs, talk to the public, respond to officials, basic stuff for safety.
Okay, so that's the immediate tragedy. But the huge question then becomes, how does someone so demonstrably unprepared, unable to grasp basic safety, how do they get behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler?
That's where you start seeing what many are calling systemic vulnerabilities. Singh somehow got a full-term commercial driver's license, a CDL, in Washington State back in July 2023.
Okay.
Then he got a limited-term CDL in California in 2024.
Even though he wasn't legally eligible?
Apparently not, according to federal and state regulations, and the political fallout was, well, immediate. Florida Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins publicly blamed, quote, Governor Gavin Newsom's reckless policies.
Strong words.
Very. Collins even personally escorted Singh during his extradition from California. It became very high profile, really highlighting that political divide.
And there's another layer here, right? Singh's authorization to work in the U.S.
Yeah, that's another complicated piece. His federal work authorization was initially rejected.
When was that?
Under the Trump administration, September 2020. But then, less than a year later, June 2021, the Biden administration approved it.
Okay, so that detail obviously fuels arguments from conservative experts.
Yeah.
Like Jessica Vaughn.
Right, from the Center for Immigration Studies. She basically says Americans can't depend on trucking companies and state regulators to make sure foreign drivers are competent and safe.
Implying a lack of trust in the oversight.
A profound lack of trust, yes. Especially concerning foreign nationals getting into these critical roles.
So in the immediate aftermath of this tragedy, the government response was swift.
Decisive, yeah. Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced that immediate nationwide pause on all worker visas for commercial truck drivers. Not a minor tweak, a major shift.
And Rubio's justification was pretty clear.
Unequivocal. He said, quote, the increasing number of foreign drivers operating large tractor-trailer trucks on U.S. roads is endangering American lives and undercutting the livelihoods of American truckers.
So he's directly linking public safety and economic protection.
Exactly. 2 major concerns tied together. It's a powerful framing, often resonates because it hits both immediate road safety fears and longer-term job security worries.
Right.
And this pause, it immediately hit Indian nationals, right? They'd only just become eligible for these H-2B visas.
Those are the temporary non-agricultural worker visas.
That's them. became eligible in January 2025 because of a recent rule change. So this quick reversal really underscores the administration's sense of urgency.
But this wasn't totally out of the blue policy-wise. The Trump administration had already started pushing for stricter enforcement.
Precisely. This pause builds on earlier actions. President Trump issued an executive order back on April 28, 2025.
The one titled Enforcing Common Sense Rules of the Road for America's Truck Drivers.
That's the one. It reinforced English as the official national language building on an even earlier March 1st order. And then, crucially, it mandated English proficiency as a non-negotiable safety requirement for all professional drivers.
So moving it from like a guideline to a hard rule.
Absolutely. Directly targeting the kind of language barrier issue seen with Singh, it signaled zero tolerance. The stated goal was clearly to fully implement that federal regulation, 49 CFR 391.11b2.
The one people claim wasn't being enforced.
Yeah, the one many sources say had been ignored for years, creating a dangerous loophole.
Okay, so what does this mean in practice? For drivers on the road or people wanting to become truckers, what happens if they don't meet this standard?
Well, the executive order has teeth. It specifically directed the Secretary of Transportation to ensure any violation of English proficiency means the driver is placed out of service immediately.
Out of service meaning they can't drive.
Exactly. Pulled from behind the wheel, commercial operation halted. They're prohibited from driving until they can prove they comply. It's a direct enforcement of that federal law we mentioned.
The one mandating English skills for safety.
Right. Which, again, sources suggest hadn't been consistently enforced, leaving a big gap in the system.
And it wasn't just about individual drivers. The administration also looked at how the licenses themselves were being issued. Systemically.
Indeed.
Right.
That was another critical piece of the executive order. It mandated a review of non-domiciled CDLs.
Those are licenses given by a state to someone who doesn't live there.
Correct. Often seen as a potential loophole. The order targeted identifying irregularities in how states were issuing these.
And did that lead to anything?
Yes, in June 2025, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy launched a nationwide audit of these practices. It's ongoing now.
Any support from the industry?
Actually, yes. Major players like the American Trucking Associations, the ATA, supported the audit. It suggests widespread concern, even within the industry, about driver qualifications. The audit is also looking into shell trucking companies. Companies may be using multiple DOT numbers, those unique carrier IDs, to sort of dodge safety penalties and hide unqualified drivers.
Okay, so this deep dive, it definitely reveals a consistent conservative viewpoint, framing these actions as long overdue. From that perspective, what are the main arguments for you, the listener, to really consider here?
Well, there are basically three core pillars to the argument. First and foremost, road safety.
Right.
Commentators like Matt Walsh argue very forcefully that many foreign drivers come from places with vastly different traffic laws, or sometimes hardly any formal laws like ours. This, they say, creates an immediate danger on complex U.S. roads.
And the language barrier is key.
Absolutely central. The inability to read signs in English, understand alerts, or communicate effectively with law enforcement or even other drivers in an emergency, it's presented as a severe hazard.
Does Walsh give examples?
He does, and they're quite stark. He mentions Solomon Weldiari, charged with 5 counts of intoxication manslaughter after a crash killed 5 people. Ari reportedly had difficulty communicating.
5 counts. Wow.
And Claude Rafiki, who got a 4-year sentence for killing 3 people after driving on the wrong side of the road. He needed a translator. These specific cases are used to highlight the human cost.
So, looking at these tragedies and the broader argument, what's the bottom line for highway safety from this viewpoint?
The bottom line is a clear and present danger that proponents argue has been ignored for too long. Walsh contends you can't just import so many people all at once and expect them all to instantly learn English well enough for our complex road system.
So the solution being pushed is?
Rigorous, consistent enforcement of those federal English standards. The argument is simple. The standards exist for safety. Ignoring them puts everyone at risk, so enforce them, no exceptions.
Okay, safety is number 1. What's the second pillar? Job protection for American truckers.
Exactly. Secretary Rubio explicitly made that connection, foreign drivers undercutting the livelihoods of American truckers.
And trucker groups agree.
Groups like the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, OOIDA, are very vocal. They push back hard against the idea of a truck driver shortage.
What do they call it then?
They say it's a shortage of pay and poor working conditions. OIDA argues if the pay and benefits were good, Americans would eagerly fill the jobs.
So they see foreign drivers differently.
Yes, as, and this is their framing, foreign scabs that keep citizens from unionizing and that actively depress wages for everyone in the industry. It's an economic argument about protecting American jobs and fair wages.
And the third pillar, integrity of the immigration system itself.
Right. This prompts the question, how does someone like Singh, who allegedly failed basic tests, who reportedly entered seeking asylum, how do they end up with CDLs?
And the answer, from this viewpoint,
conservative voices often point to, quote, systemic corruption at every level. Serious allegations against DMVs for issuing licenses without proper tests. Concerns about those shell trucking companies we mentioned earlier.
using multiple DOT numbers to evade oversight.
Exactly. Republican attorney Mahek Cook summed it up by saying the issue ultimately boils down to sovereignty and safety, linking border control and law enforcement directly to national security.
And this fits into a broader push.
It seems to. The Trump administration's wider continuous vetting program for over 55 million visa holders reflects that broader push for more screening and stricter immigration enforcement generally.
Now, while these policies clearly have strong support in this conservative framework, there are, naturally, other perspectives.
Indeed. Critics like David Beer from the Cato Institute offer a counterargument. They insist the U.S. does face a massive truck driver shortage.
How big?
Estimates vary, but somewhere between 60,000 and over 78,000 drivers, based on some analyses.
And Beer's take on Rubio's decision.
He called it absurd, arguing it was based on an anecdote, the Florida crash, and will only make the shortage worse.
Leading to higher prices.
That's the fear, yeah.
Right.
Potentially driving up the prices of goods by straining already tight supply chains.
And they suggest different solutions.
Some argue the focus should be more on improving certification processes, holding hiring companies accountable, rather than broad visa restrictions.
They also point to Singh's specific case.
Right. They note he did have a work permit approved by the Biden administration, and his CDLs were technically obtained under existing state policies at the time, shifting blame, perhaps, to those policies.
Great for the administration and its supporters.
For them, the potential for more preventable tragedies clearly outweighs those economic or procedural points. It shows a fundamental difference in priorities, and how risk is perceived.
So, wrapping this up, what does this deep dive into trucker visas, safety, and immigration really mean for you, the listener? It certainly paints a stark picture of national challenges.
Yeah, how one tragic event can ripple out, impacting policy, public debate, and exposing tensions between federal and state roles.
It leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it?
It really does. As the federal government asserts its authority more forcefully to enforce laws and protect citizens, will states that have been criticized for lax standards fall in line? Or is this just the next battleground in the ongoing state versus federal power debate?
It definitely makes you think. What's the true cost, the ultimate cost of vetting gaps or inconsistent enforcement, not just on our roads or in the economy,
but on the very fabric of our communities,
Yeah.
and maybe even national security and sovereignty itself? Lots to consider there.